7th Annual Development and Redevelopment Opportunities and Accomplishments Seminar on behalf of WEDCO and the town. I'm Marta Levsky. I'm the Director of Planning and the Chair of the Woodbridge Economic Development Corporation, and I'm happy to welcome you here today. The video that you're going to view and also the PowerPoint will be up on our website by this afternoon, so if there's any of the sites or the areas that you want a little more immediate information about, that'll be available. And then, as always, the Mayor, Carol, and I will be available for questions both here and afterwards. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce a man who needs no introduction, and he really doesn't like that stuff anyway. So our Mayor, John McCormick.
Thank you, Marta. There's a few of our elected officials in the audience I want to quickly introduce. Councilwoman Brenda Velasco, Councilman Jim Major, Councilman Bob Luban, and Assemblyman Craig Coughlin and John Wisniewski. Thank you for being with us here today. I'd like to thank our sponsors. We have never had this many sponsors for a WEDCO forum, so thank all of you who have contributed toward this and made it already a fantastic success. And the list is behind you. The list is handed out outside, so please recognize them and thank them. That's an applause line. I want to introduce Karen Barnes and Nancy Drum from the Chamber of Commerce, who we enjoy a great cooperation with. The Chamber, WEDCO, the Redevelopment Agency, the Township, everybody works well together. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Nancy. And I want to thank the Halperns who own this fantastic building. This is an unbelievable view of Woodbridge Township. You see a little bit of it in the video, but they built this building, or started this building many years ago on spec. And if everybody then, at least I did, thought they were nuts in 2008, 2007, 2009, building an office building on spec in that environment. But it worked out, and now there's Ansell here, there's Amper, the CPA firm, there's Hatchmont McDonald, there's McDonald's, there's a whole host of companies here in Woodbridge Township because of their foresight. So I want to thank the Halperns for hosting today and for putting this great building in Woodbridge Township. Thank you. And as everybody knows, all eyes are on New Jersey for the Super Bowl in 2014, although I think the state's crazy and think the NFL's crazy for having picked a cold weather site. If there's a driving blizzard, who knows what might happen. We're hoping for the best. But regardless, it's going to be a great thing for the state, and we're hoping there's a lot of spillover down to Woodbridge Township. Oh, video first. Oh, I forgot. My bad. Let's go to the video.
WEDCO is an invaluable tool for helping the administration bring business to town, develop business, and help our businesses to grow.
WEDCO works with us to bring businesses to town, big and small. They've helped us attract Amazon.com, Arizona Iced Tea, the competitive Power Ventures Power Plant. These are big companies with a lot of jobs. Today we celebrate the groundbreaking of the biggest project ever in Woodbridge. Nearly $1 billion will be invested in our town, and over $100 million in tax revenues will flow into our budget over the next 30 years.
So John, honestly, the people of your community, the people of your community are going to benefit from your lobbying efforts, which were extensive.
And thank you finally and most certainly to the mayor, who continues to put the people of Woodbridge first and foremost, and that's why we work so well together and why I continue to think he's one of the best mayors in the state of New Jersey. Thank you all very much.
WEDCO is a great organization, and they really help make sure that Woodbridge Township is open for business. We're very blessed to have an administration here, as well as inspectors that understand that businesses need an advocate in order to grow and prosper. It's not whether we can do things, but how are we going to work together to get them done.
10 years in business, I swear it's gone by in seconds. We would not be able to do this without the support of the township, and John McCormick in an environment that promotes small business.
It's up to us to do the right thing and shop here, patronize here, and give you the business so that you stay here.
I think it will be a good working under our mayor in this town, and we're really thankful to all departments that they supported us, and we need their support.
Everybody in the town is very cooperative. The mayor, Carol Ehrlich, Marta Levsky, Tom Kelly, all of them do everything they can to make this work.
People like the way our building department handles things, and that's because of Marta Levsky, who's our director of planning. So I want to thank her for her leadership of the building department. You want to say anything, Marta?
No, thank you, just welcome. We're thrilled that you're open.
Thank you.
Great. When somebody talks to a business that's here and says, yes, I had a good experience coming here, and the town got me through the planning board and the zoning board in one hearing, and the technical review committee made it quick, made it easy. That's important to us. WEDCO is a referral base for us when companies want to know what it's like to do business in Woodbridge.
Companies' first item that they look at is the regulatory environment, as well as also the approvals. If it's tough to get your approvals in a municipality, especially if the client or tenant is under a time crunch, they'll likely go somewhere else.
You hear all kinds of horror stories about municipalities, but they really did, they were very cooperative and did a great job for us.
When we have tenants and we have to move things a little faster, and we have to figure out ways to get the tenant in when there's certain issues and problems, they work with us to make the deals easier. They help us speak to the tenants, they welcome them, they're actually part of helping us to bring larger tenants to the town.
As soon as we have a prospect, we put all forces in motion to get that prospect in, answer all their questions, take them on tours. We drive them all over town. If they say, I need a site, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, we want them to know that we want them to be here.
One of the services that WEDCO provides is bringing green businesses to town to help our businesses become greener. For example, Greener by Design is helping businesses save money on their energy costs, and Direct Install is helping our businesses get grant money when they want to implement new green practices.
When you come up here to show space to the tenants, when we bring them up here to the balcony, they look out and all they see is green. They look like they're in a rural area instead of the middle of Woodbridge, and that's an initiative that I think the town of Woodbridge has saved more trees than any other town.
When businesses think green, they think Woodbridge Township.
Woodbridge Township is a great place to do business because Woodbridge Township partners with businesses to make their business successful.
Working with Woodbridge Township is exceptional.
Woodbridge is, for me, a better town to work in than any other town that I've ever done business with.
WEDCO helps us bring companies to Woodbridge with employees who will shop here and dine here and help all the businesses that are already here, with tax ratables that help everybody else in town. WEDCO really helps me be able to say proudly, welcome to Woodbridge, the best town around. Now, whether or not you like the governor, you have to admit he's very perceptive. As president and CEO of the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority, Wayne Hassenbog is responsible for overseeing the Meadowlands Sports Complex, consisting of the Izod Center, the Meadowlands Racetrack, and MetLife Stadium. Home of the New York Giants and Jets, the Meadowlands is also one of the world's leading destinations for concerts and family shows. The Sports Authority is also coordinating the multi-billion-dollar development of the American Dream Meadowlands Entertainment and Retail Complex, the ugliest building right now in the state of New Jersey, and perhaps the country. In recent years, the NJSEA, oh, come on, you got to admit it is. And it's not your fault, you came into it. In recent years, the NJSEA played a vital role in the opening of the new MetLife Stadium, to which it supplies staffing services. Currently in the midst of a major new direction in its mission, the NJSEA has leased the Meadowlands Racetrack and Monmouth Park Racetrack to private operators and has been charged by Governor Christie with coordinating and developing a statewide strategy to attract sports and entertainment events through the state. Prior to joining NJSEA, Mr. Hassenbog was Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Planning in the New Jersey Governor's Office. While serving as a member of Governor Christie's senior staff, he assisted in the coordination and oversight of executive branch activities. Governor Chris Christie also appointed him to the State Ethics Commission in February 2012. Mr. Hassenbog was an assistant to the Chief Counsel of the Governor of New Jersey in the Thomas Kean administration, as well as Chief of Staff for the Attorney General of New Jersey, Carrie Edwards. Mr. Hassenbog, a New Jersey native, received his BA degree from Gettysburg College in 1976. He received a Master of Public Administration degree in 1978 from Penn State and was awarded a JD from Seton Hall Law School in 1984. Ladies and gentlemen, Wayne Hassenbog.
Thank you very much. Is it not working?
It's not working all of a sudden.
It's Haggerty, you know?
That's just for the TV.
Okay, now?
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go. Thank you. I'm here to also endorse Mayor McCormick. Actually, a little bit of housekeeping. Mayor McCormick and I share something. He may not actually know this, but I have a superstition. I wear a Yankees watch on my left wrist from the first pitch of the season to the last pitch of the season, and it's not on my wrist, as you can see. Now, the watch doesn't work, but it's something I've always done, and hopefully this, usually at this time of the year, we're watching the games, but John, we're not. Also, I've been in this position now for about a year and a half, and one of the first places I got invited to was here. I spoke at a breakfast a little over a year ago, and it was really nice coming back, and there's some people in the room that I really consider friends, and there's people that I actually have worked with over the years. John Haggerty's one, Bob Landolfi, and some others, so it's really nice to come here. I get asked, well, you'll find out in a minute, I get asked the same question literally 5-10 times a day in this job. Question is, can I get Super Bowl tickets? And people always say that, and they pretend like they're joking, but I know they're not. A good friend of mine, and two people here in the front know this guy's name, Vincent Fox. He's one of my good friends, and I was out to dinner with him recently, and I was telling him how that happens all the time. And literally, as I'm telling the story, somebody comes up to the table and says, can you get me Super Bowl tickets? And the second question I get asked all the time is, wouldn't it be great if the Giants and the Jets are in the Super Bowl? Well, that question is no longer. I'm just dealing with the first question now every day, and not the second part. But that brings us to the gorilla in the room, which is Super Bowl tickets. And other than Mayor McCormick, how many people think they're actually going to get Super Bowl tickets? Anybody in this room? Good, that's the right answer. Because usually where I go, people actually think they're going to get Super Bowl tickets, and the reality is you're probably not. Maybe a few of you will in this room, but the way it works, and I never knew this, but so say there's about 80,000 tickets, which is approximately how many tickets there will be at MetLife Stadium in February. 35% of those tickets, which is about 28,000 total tickets, go to the two teams in the Super Bowl. And those two teams, you don't know who they are until 2 weeks before the game. So literally more than a third of the tickets will go to those two teams, and you don't even know who they are until 2 weeks before. A little over 33% of the total tickets, which is about 27,000 tickets, go to all the other NFL teams. 25% go to the NFL itself, and 6.2% go to the host team. Well, in this case, it's two host teams. So if the Jets and the Giants are not in the Super Bowl, which they probably won't be, they'll each get about 2,500 tickets each. So when you do the arithmetic, they're all gone. So unless you're a sponsor or know somebody in some high up places, the reality is it's really hard to get tickets for people or anybody to go to the game. But look, this is a game of a lot of firsts. It's the first, we all know, it's the first cold weather Super Bowl. It's the first Super Bowl hosted by two states, New York, in this case, New York and New Jersey. It's the first Super Bowl in this region of the country. And, it's going to be a game of firsts. And it may be the first blizzard. I hope not, but if it is, we're going to be ready. Another kind of interesting thing about Super Bowls is you all know the game itself is a really big thing, but the week before Super Bowl is also really big, and to me, actually even more important than the game, because that's where all the spending takes place. That's where all the economic activity takes place, and that's where we're working really hard. Believe it or not, about 400,000 people will participate in Super Bowl-related events who will not have tickets to the game. And of those, about 150,000 will travel from outside the region to attend Super Bowl-related events and will not be going to the game. So that gives you kind of the magnitude of just how big the event is and what happens and in terms of economic impact. It's estimated that this Super Bowl will have the greatest economic impact in the history of Super Bowls, about $550 million to the region. When we submitted, we being the state of New Jersey, along with New York City, submitted our bid for Super Bowl, we committed 18,000 hotel rooms to the NFL, of which about a quarter, about 25%, are in New Jersey. So you've probably already seen the stories about what hotels are going for, and I'm sure it's even spilling over down in this part of the state because you're not that far away. But it's going to be kind of exciting. And I can tell you, on the day of the game, the Meadowlands complex, where I work every day, where I drive up and I get to see my name on a sign, and I get to see the great stadium, and I get to see Izod, and I get to see the ugliest building in the face of the earth. And you're right. Hopefully soon you're going to hear some developments about that, but I hope that changes, and I think it will. But the day of the game, the whole place is going to be humming, and hopefully the electricity will stay on. Because, and I was in New Orleans when the lights went out, and people asked me, what were you thinking? And my first thought was, thank God my board 6 months ago at that time had approved $1 million authorization to add a third redundant electric transmission line into the facility in a project where we're in a partnership with PSE&G. So we had already had that in place, work was already underway, and in fact the line is already in. It's already being, the NFL was here last week. Everything's being tested. They seem really happy so far. We're happy. And through the NFL season, we're going to continue to test. But I really don't anticipate we're going to have any problems with electricity. So the day of the game, though, obviously the game itself. And I'll tell you just a little bit. There's a lot of planning that goes into Super Bowls. And so the day of the game, you have, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later, but at the complex itself, in the old racetrack grandstand, if you're familiar at all with the Meadowlands, there's this big gray building, which is the racetrack grandstand. There's a new one being constructed that's going to open next month. But in the old grandstand, which is where my office is, this will be the site of what's called the NFL tailgate party. And that's the part of, you'll see a lot of that, since you won't be at the game. You'll be able to watch on the pregame show. They'll cut away from time to time to the NFL party. There'll be about 11,000 people who are VIP guests of the NFL, and that's where a lot of the musical acts will take place. They're building a stage out over the racetrack, and that will be the site of the NFL party. The host committee, every Super Bowl has a host committee. Their party will be in the new grandstand, and that'll be about 2,500 people. And in Izod will be another NFL party for about 5,000 people. So the day of the game, every facility that's part of the complex will be humming, be a lot of activity, and New Jersey itself is also going to be obviously very excited. The two teams you probably know are staying in Jersey City. Both teams are going to be training at facilities in New Jersey at Florham Park and at the Meadowlands complex at what it was the Timex Center. Media Day, first time ever. Usually media days become a really big thing now. It's usually in the stadium where the game's held, but for reasons including potential weather reasons, it's going to be at Prudential Center in the Prudential Arena. And it'll be an opportunity really to showcase not only Newark but New Jersey to 3,000 to 5,000 credentialed international and national media representatives that will be there. So, it's a big thing, and getting the Super Bowl is a big thing. And I had this other really great job and right down the hall from where Mayor McCormick used to work, and he's probably familiar. I had this really, really crappy office, although I was a few doors down from the governor in where he sits. But I was the first door on the right when you walk in. It's this little teeny kind of office. And I tell you this part of the story was, it's all about real estate and location. So I had a great location, but the office itself kind of was a little crappy. But so one day in December of 2011, Governor walks in and closes my door. Now, it was not unusual for him to come in, but very unusual for him to come in and close the door. And when you got this really small kind of crappy office, and he's literally right there and I'm right here, and not knowing what to expect, I had no clue what to expect. And if you've ever been around Governor Christie or you've seen him, and I think probably everybody has at least seen him on TV and stuff, it's a little scary. So, to say the least. So, he actually, that's when we had the conversation about taking this job. And in the course of that conversation, he started talking about the Super Bowl, and he talked about how important it was to him and how important he thought it was to the state, and that this was an opportunity to put New Jersey in a great light for everybody around the world to see. And we talked about it. And to this day, every day when I go to work and I look at that crappy building, but I go to work and I think about, that, because what I think he was really saying is, Wayne, don't go up there and screw this up. But what we talked about was, how do we, in state government, how do we mobilize resources so that we don't screw up, so that we really put on a show and show support in a way that becomes not only a model for others, but maybe will allow us to attract the Super Bowl back here again and other events back into New Jersey. And we had a conversation and we formed what we now call the New Jersey State Super Bowl Working Group. And we identified all the state agencies that are involved in the Super Bowl, and there's about 16 of them. They range from New Jersey Transit to the state police to DOT, and, the list goes on. And we developed a working group, and we put everybody around a table, and we structured 6 committees, like mass transit and security and roadways, and one's called community and tourism and community relations, and talk a little bit about that too. And we, in conjunction with the host committee, now I keep talking about the host committee, but for those that don't know, every Super Bowl has a host committee, and that's really an arm of the NFL, an arm of the host team, in this case host teams, and really is the principal entity that plans the Super Bowl. A guy named Al Kelly is the CEO. Al is a former president of American Express, and over the last 2.5 years has assembled a team that's been working out of New York and also out of MetLife Stadium. And they raise the money for the Super Bowl through corporate sponsors. And their goal is to raise about $60 million to help support all that's involved with the Super Bowl. But also they have a whole arm attached, is involved in raising money for charitable and philanthropic causes. And they, this will be the largest charitable Super Bowl in the history of Super Bowls. So what we did is we worked closely with Al and the host committee, and Al and I co-chaired this working group, and we've been working for about 1.5 years, and in really about 2 years, but for real about 1.5 years. And through the committee structure, we had regular meetings where the chairs of all the committees would report, and we had in place a mechanism so that if we had to make decisions, we were able to facilitate decision making and also make sure that everything was being coordinated in a way. And from Al's perspective, it was a good thing. So he didn't have to figure out the roadmap of who does he deal with in New Jersey, and how does he get things done. So it's worked really well. I feel very comfortable, believe it or not. We're now under 100 days till the game, and from a planning perspective, we're at this point we're pretty locked down. I mean, all the plans are in place. We're ready. Just to give you an example of some of the challenges associated with this game. So security is big, as you can imagine. It's the highest level Homeland Security event there is. It's the same level that the inauguration of a president gets. So it's big, and as a result of that, the stadium itself and game day, the complex becomes extraordinarily sensitive towards security concerns. So there's going to be a 300-foot perimeter around the stadium that extends out into the parking lot. So for everybody that goes to games, again, because you're not going to Super Bowl, but people who go to regular games, you're used to tailgating and you're used to all sorts of stuff that goes on there. Well, it's not even going to look like that. There's approximately 26,000 parking spaces between Izod and MetLife. There's only going to be about 11,000 parking spaces for Super Bowl. And that's because of the security issues. It's because of the parking. We're making arrangements for buses and limos. People, when they enter the complex, won't be able to leave. So if a limo brings you there, that limo's staying there. So it can't drop you off and leave and come back. So we've got to make arrangements for all of that. There's going to be 7 what we call welcome pavilions. They're going to be erected in the parking lots. Will be indoor, almost kind of like tented facilities, so that people, and that's where the screening will take place. So right now, when you go into the game, you go through the gates. That's where in this case, you'll enter through these indoor pavilions that will be heated, in case there's a blizzard. It'll be heated, and there'll be TV screens and monitors, so you can watch the pregame shows and all that kind of stuff. And there'll be Disney kind of lines to get people hopefully through. And so when you look at the complex itself, there'll be no tailgating. Mass transit is going to be a big part of the Super Bowl, not only for the game, but for the entire week. Getting people around in the region is a really big part of the planning that we're doing. Getting people back and forth, and we're going to do a lot to try to make sure we get as many people as we can of those 400,000, 150,000 from out of the region into New Jersey, and we'll be doing a lot to try to promote New Jersey and opportunities to come and visit New Jersey. But just give you one example of the kind of challenges. I mean, everybody's probably the obvious ones are weather and snow and all that. And for those of you who live where you all mostly probably live around here, you're screwed if it snows, because every plow in the state is going to be it's going to be someplace else than here in South Jersey. But to give you an example, the credentialing process. Okay, everybody, you need credentials and stuff like that. So the process started in the first week of October. The reason for that is the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, for everybody that will be on the complex for Super Bowl day, will have to have a credential and have a background check that pre-approved. So that means, for example, we need to know how many hot dog vendors will be on the complex that day, how many electricians. So when you go through all the people, the thousands and tens of thousands of people that are going to be working in there, every single one of them will have to have had a background check and a credential, or they won't be able to get on the complex that day. So, for example, if we think we need 6 electricians, we're submitting 12 applications in case somebody gets rejected or people just don't show up to work. Because it's not a case of if they don't show up to work, you just fill somebody else in. Well, that's not going to happen. So that just gives you a feel for the kind of planning and the security that's involved, in the game. Another kind of funny example, or not funny, but one of the biggest challenges we have of the whole thing is if it does snow, how do we clear the snow in the stadium? Now, you're probably used to some games you hear they put out, come to the stadium, we'll hire you, that won't work because you got to be credentialed. So about 1,200 people are going to have to be, again, go through a background check, who are going to be people who will be used to shovel the snow inside the stadium if there is some kind of major snow event. And those people are probably going to have to be housed someplace in the event, so we have them ready in the case that we need to clear the snow in the stadium. So you get a flavor and a feel for just the complexity of the planning that's involved in a Super Bowl. And that's, the list goes on. And the good news is, because we started a year and a half, 2 years ago. Had we not done that, it'd be a whole different story. And I think we'd all be kind of worried. But I really think we're going to be prepared. Aside from the Super Bowl, Mayor McCormick talked about the new mission for the authority, and we're really lucky here in New Jersey. We had WrestleMania in April. And I don't know if anybody really knows what WrestleMania is or was, and I didn't until about a little over 2 years ago, when I got invited to a meeting. I still was working in the governor's office, and I got invited to a meeting for my predecessor, Dennis Robinson, at the authority, and I went up there, and because he had called me, somebody said we should invite you to a meeting, and I went up there, and they started talking about WrestleMania, and I had no idea what they were talking about. Well, it's a WWE. It's like their annual Super Bowl, and I got involved because they were looking for the governor's support, because you have to compete. You have to compete to get Super Bowls. You got to compete to get events like WrestleMania, and they were looking for the governor's support, and so we got involved, and we did a letter from the governor, and ultimately I was part of a group that went up and made the final pitch to Vince McMahon. If you've ever driven up in Connecticut and Stamford, there's a big building. You can't miss it off the highway off of 95. And on the top is WWE. Well, the whole big building is WWE and Vince McMahon. And so we made the pitch to him. And the Lieutenant Governor and I drove up there together, and she was part of the group. And when it was my turn for the presentation, before I started, I said, respectfully, Mr. McMahon, you have a bunch of big guys around you. Well, I got the ultimate big guy, and he told me last night, don't come back without WrestleMania. And so when they had told us that they weren't going to make the decision for a few weeks, and we got done, and Vince McMahon got done with the questions, and there was kind of a pause, and he turned to his people, and by the way, there was this was a huge corporate boardroom, and he had a bunch of, his big guys, but a bunch of people in suits and everything too. So he turned to them and said, I'm about to do something you're not going to like and you're not going to be happy with, but I'm going to do it anyway. And he turned to us and he said, we're in. And with that, we all kind of just, obviously started hugging each other, and we knew it was going to be a really, really great opportunity. And I happened to be standing by the door, so as he walked out, he came up to me and he said, I think I just saved your job. which when we had WrestleMania here in April, I reminded him of that. And when I thanked him for that event you're going to hear in the next week or so about the economic impact of that event, but it's huge. And I've never seen anything like it. I never thought, My wife actually loved it. The main event had over 80,000 people at the stadium. It was the largest grossing event in MetLife Stadium history. I've never seen anything like it. They were selling for the week, and there was a bunch of events through the whole week, and every event sold out in between Madison Square Garden and IZOD and all sorts of stuff. But they were selling replica championship belts, and for $425, and they were just kind of like plastic replica belts. They weren't any, but the morning after WrestleMania, we got this, which is now in the Sports Authority Hall of Fame, email Hall of Fame folder. We get the following email from a woman named Jasmine. Last night, I attended WrestleMania and in a drunk stupor, purchased a replica belt. How can I get a refund? So we've actually stayed in touch with the WrestleMania folks, and we are aggressively pursuing getting WrestleMania to come back in the next few years. And I'm fully confident it's going to come back. It was their largest grossing WrestleMania in their history, so I see no reason why they wouldn't come back. But we have these great events in New Jersey. We're starting with WrestleMania and now Super Bowl, and hopefully the Formula One race in next June will also come to fruition. A quick funny story about that one. If you're not familiar, Formula One, and I didn't know what Formula One really was either. I'm a sports enthusiast. I know about racing, but Formula One is the second most watched sport in the world, and it's huge over in Europe. The 28 to 30 drivers for these Formula One cars are in many cases some of the highest paid athletes in the world, and they're like rock stars. So one day I was in the governor's office, and the chief of staff's assistant said to me, Rich is running late. Rich Bagger, can you cover a meeting? Which happened a lot. I said, sure. What's it about? She said, some guy wants to have a car race in Hudson County. And I said, what's his name? She goes, Leo Hendry, and I didn't really know. So I go to this conference room, just the two of us. He's got maps of Hudson County. He starts talking about Formula One, and just like WrestleMania, I'm figuring, what the heck am I doing here? And as we began to talk, he started to, and Mayor will remember this, started talking and said, when I formed the Yes Network with my partner, George Steinbrenner, and it clicked, because I'm a Yankee. I knew the name Leo Hendry from the Yes Network, and in fact, he was the guy who started the network. And I realized that he was not a nut. And so he and I began to work on getting the Formula One race, and I told him that if you didn't get the mayors of the two towns on board, you might as well forget it, and worked about 8 months, 9 months to do that. And finally, in a press conference right along the river where the race will be, the governor announced that Formula One's coming to New Jersey. Now, right now, it's on the calendar for next June with an asterisk, which means it's not definite yet. If it does fall off the schedule, I am 100% confident it will happen in 15 if it doesn't happen in 14. And the final big event in New Jersey is the United States Special Olympics, which will be also in next June. So, which is, as you can imagine, there are going to be 3,000 or more special athletes who will be coming in from every state. And part of the planning for that is because it's going to be based mostly in Mercer County, but there'll be venues all around the state, as well as we're going to give opportunities to visit places around the state, including doing tours of New York City and all that kind of stuff. So when they arrive, the Department of, I think, Defense has made arrangements, or somebody. They're coming in Cessnas from each state. And when they arrive, it's all going to be choreographed in terms of timing. You're going to land at Mercer Airport, and when they come off the planes, they're going to be greeted by high school marching bands and stuff who will, in many cases, play like the college song from the state that they're in. And we're going to do everything we can to make that a very special event. So we have all these really, really big events. And so one day, when I was still in my other job, I was working on all this stuff, and it really wasn't in my job description, and we began to start looking around at other states and other cities and realized that there was entities whose job it was to attract these kinds of events to their jurisdiction. New Jersey didn't have one. And so that day when the governor closed the door of my office, we also talked about his vision of using the Sports Authority as the vehicle to start chasing these things, because you compete to get them. It's not like in the old days of the Meadowlands, they come knocking on your door, please let us come here. It doesn't work like that anymore. You're competing against other states and cities and venues to get these kinds of events. And so ultimately, in his budget message that year, he laid out the vision of repositioning the Sports Authority. And everybody knows a lot about the Sports Authority. I mean, the Meadowlands has an international reputation. It started in 1971 by Governor Cahill, and his vision at the time was to build a football stadium for the Giants. And over the years, the Sports Authority grew and morphed into a whole lot of other things, And now we're getting out of the business of, we don't run MetLife Stadium. We provide employees with a management agreement, but we don't run it. We don't run the racetracks anymore. We're going to be we will be transferring IZOD to a private operator in the near future. So we're getting out of that business, and the governor's new vision was to put us in the business of competing to attract sports and entertainment events to New Jersey and to work with the Division of Travel and Tourism in promoting New Jersey. So we're in the midst of developing the business plan to do that, but the bottom line is you got to work to get these things here. If you remember the show, the Howard Stern America's Got Talent, that was at the Performing Arts Center, that's something we really went after and got. Now we lost it this year to Radio City Music Hall, and it's not for lack of trying, but sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And this year we won. We got Miss America back to New Jersey. Again, we competed. We had a group of people headed by the Lieutenant Governor who really went out and pursued that event and got it back to New Jersey. I see Doug Doyle in the back of the room. Doug has certain interests, and so just for him, we did this. Next year we're getting Supercross at MetLife Stadium, and I've learned Supercross is, I don't know much about this one either, but it's this. Yeah, your tickets for Disney on Ice are there. You got it. So this is a really big event. You're going to hear a lot about it next year, and this will be the first Supercross event in the northeast region of the country, and I believe it's the last event before they go to Vegas for the championship event. I don't quite know how it works, and Doug will pay. You can pay him by the minute instead of the hour. He'll explain it all to you. But so we're in the business of trying to work on all that, and the bottom line to all of this stuff is because of the economic benefit these events provide. And part of the proposal that ultimately got signed into law by the governor in June of 12 was repositioning the authority to move us where we were in 1971 under the Department of Community Affairs. We're now under the Lieutenant Governor, under the Department of State, and part of the economic development team, working with EDA and the Business Action Center. So symbolically, it doesn't really matter, frankly, where you are when you're in but not of authority of the state, but symbolically being part of the economic development world now sends a strong message that just like we've been committed to try to attract jobs and businesses to New Jersey, there's really not much difference in competing to try to bring sports entertainment events to the state. And I'll end with it's not just Meadowlands centric now. The Sports Authority's job is to work statewide to attract events throughout the entire state. And it's not just all the big things either. For those that are familiar with the Balloon Festival in Hunterdon County, that grew from a kind of small event to this year having over 100,000 people on that final day. It's and that's if you could bring that kind of a festival or event to, for example, Vineland, New Jersey, that would be a really great thing for the region. So once we really launch this new effort, we're going to be working with towns and with counties and with everybody around the state to try to attract events to your venue, to your towns, and to try to help provide some support to hopefully provide some value to you for that. Super Bowl is a challenging effort. I mean, bottom line is New York City is New York City. And as much as we all love New Jersey and are proud of New Jersey, people are going to want to go to New York City for a lot of the stuff that's involved. The Super Bowl Boulevard, which will be the major experience that will be open to the public, will be about 10 to 12 blocks that will be closed off around Times Square, where people will be able to go and assemble and be part of the whole NFL and Super Bowl experience. We're trying to do the best we can in New Jersey to maximize the economic benefit of Super Bowl. And it's not necessarily an easy task, but one that really is at the top of our priority list. So we're working at it and doing the best we can. And as we get closer, I think you'll see some of the efforts that we're going to be taking to try to promote places all around the state. So I'll end by saying that, it's been being able to get involved in trying to do some new things, both with the authority, but also the kind of new mission of bringing things to New Jersey. I give you an example, and this is kind of a cool one. So I had Mike Tyson in my office this week, and it's a true story. And the reason he was in my office is because one of the things I'm looking at is how can we bring boxing back to Atlantic City. And for those that are old enough and have white hair like me, in the 80s, Mike Tyson fought all his heavyweight championship matches in Atlantic City. And I was interviewed recently, and my most three memorable moments in New Jersey, my number one was going to a heavyweight championship fight, because I have never experienced the excitement and buzz in a room as when the fighters enter for a heavyweight championship fight, as well as the buzz that surrounds Atlantic City in that week before those kinds of fights. It's indescribable. So Mike was there this week because, and I reminded him that I had been to all of his fights, but I had missed 3 of them. And the reason I missed 3 of them is one of them I was going to get a beer, and he knocked that guy out in 30 seconds. Another was I had passes, and I went to go out to give somebody a pass, and I turned around, everybody's swarming out of it was over, you know. So I told Tyson that, you know, I missed 3 of them, but I was there. Didn't get to see the actual punch. But we talked about some ways. He's very, very interested in, he's also getting into boxing, promoting, and he's got some reality TV show stuff he's doing now, and he wants to potentially incorporate Atlantic City into that. He's very, very interested in trying to kind of go back to his roots, and I think you're going to see, hopefully within the year, some things that Mike Tyson will be doing to help in this new mission that we're doing. But that's the kind of stuff that we're doing now, and it's going to be good for the state. I mean, I'll end with this. Super Bowl is a really great thing. Again, you will not be there, I will be, and you know, but I guarantee everybody in this room, or maybe almost everybody in this room, will have their TVs on and will watch that game. Everybody watches Super Bowl to begin with, but if you're in New Jersey and you know the game is in New Jersey, you're going to want to watch it because it's in New Jersey. And the entire state, I think, will have a sense of pride. And as great as the economic benefit is of all this stuff that we've been talking about this morning, and that's really important, the other thing is the pride that brings the state. You know, when you get these kinds of events and you have an opportunity for the entire state to come together and support an event like this one, and to feel an event like this one, because you're all going to feel it, whether you're a fan or not, you're not going to be able to escape Super Bowl. It's going to be everywhere. You know, that's really good for the state of New Jersey.
The head of our redevelopment agency, and Marta Lefsky, our director of planning, for their great job they do on behalf of Woodbridge. The Woodbridge Economic Development Corp, which is why we're here, WEDCO, the redevelopment agency. So far, we have probably thousands of new jobs in the township in the past couple of years. Shouldn't say weeks. Keep going, Tim. These are why we have these things. We have on our website the listing of all commercial, industrial, retail properties available. When somebody calls up, we'll talk to them, but we'll also refer them to the website. Technical review committee, you come in town hall, in a conference room, not at a hearing. You get your engineers, your planners, your architects with ours, and you sit and you go through everything. And when you go to the hearing before the planning or the zoning board, it's typically one night. It's typically minutes. Some have gone in and out of 5 minutes. Big projects of FedEx expansion of several 100,000 square feet took 5 minutes of a hearing because we got it all done in advance with people just calmly sitting down and talking through all the issues. We try to get your permits done as quick as possible. We try to get your inspections done as quick as possible. We try to help you with the local contractor webpage, with people you can go to get the work done, and it also helps our people in town provide that work to you. And of course, we're very into the Buy Local initiative to spend money in Woodbridge, which is the next slide. We try to encourage everybody to shop locally, and we said before that CPV, for example, came in and said, tell us where the restaurants are, tell us where we go for dry cleaning, tell us where we get office supplies, tell us where we get a copier. So it all works out that we try to help Woodbridge businesses. There's a directory of Buy Local where people can sign up, and on the right you can see all the different aspects, all different companies in Woodbridge who have what you need when you come to develop here. Keep going. The CPV site is the biggest project ever to come to town. They call it $854 billion, which probably means $1 million, which probably means it'll be $1 billion when it's all said and done. 700,000 megawatts, $60 million in annual payroll. You can jump one more, Tim. 25 or more skill jobs. Go back. Yep. It's a combined cycle natural gas plant. That's as much as I know about it. I just know it's going to bring a lot of money to town, $115 million over 30 years. Now, we announced last night a unique partnership, which we've always had with the school district. When we get a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes, it's a tax incentive program. We'll give you a discount in certain areas that we think we need to give a discount in taxes in order to get you to come here. We've done, I think we have 9 or 10 on the books now, probably another half a dozen we're working on. The way that works is Typical tax bill, we get about 25%, the board gets 55%, the Board of Ed, the county 15, 16, and the fire district 3, 4, or 5, depending on the district. When it's a pilot, we keep 95% of it, and the county gets 5% of it. The school board doesn't get anything. However, the school board doesn't have any burden from, for kids in the school from a warehouse or an office building or a retail store. So it doesn't matter that they don't get anything because it doesn't cost them anything. Nonetheless, we share about 25% of every pilot we do with the school district, and we try to identify school improvements that are community oriented, and we do them for them. And in the past, with money we've gotten from several pilots, we've done a turf field at Woodbridge High School, tennis courts at JFK High School, a track at Colonia High School, lights at Colonia and JFK fields, Woodbridge Middle School Theater. We've paved things for them. It's got to be something with a community benefit. We can't buy textbooks, we can't pay for salaries, or we can't do boilers, we can't do things that don't have a general community benefit. So last night we announced $9.8 million that we're putting in the school district now, and we're going to pay for it with 25% of the money that comes in from the CPV pilot, which will be an average of $3.5 million a year for 30 years. So it's a great program. It gets the schools to have improvements that are necessary. The property values in town go up. When you drive through Colonia High School now, it doesn't look so great. The field's ugly. The football field, the baseball fields don't look so good. Woodbridge High School's tennis team has never had a home match for the last 8 years. The Kennedy kids in track have not raced on their track in 5 years. Kids have graduated in the track team, and all 4 years they've not even got a chance to use their track. The board would never, ever have the money to fix the JFK track at $1.2 million, let alone the bleachers, let alone auditoriums, let alone fields, all this. So we decided to work with them. They identified a list of projects, and we're going to do them for them. In the next 2 years, we're going to do all the facilities, everything connected to the community. It's mostly athletic fields, but by us doing that, those things which would have had to be done sooner or later anyway will no longer be in their operating budget, and all that money can now be redirected toward academics, toward curriculum. And the $50,000 a year it takes to maintain a field for watering, for seeding, for lining, now you don't need on a turf field. So all that money that they otherwise would have spent either on maintenance or transportation, taking kids to away meets instead of home meets, and all the money, because they would have had to do the bleachers someday anyway. The stands at Woodbridge High School are going to be condemned in a year. They'd have to replace them for $1 million someday. Now we're doing all those things, and it's because of these pilot arrangements. It's a fantastic partnership. Last night was a great meeting when we announced this, and we're looking very much forward to really improving the facilities in our community. Another benefit of CPV is there's going to be a Woodbridge Waterfront Park, hiking trails, boardwalks, bird blinds, boating areas, all kinds of things. The town has not had access to the Raritan River in forever, since the Indian times. So now there'll be, within that site, all these kind of passive recreation areas, and there'll be 100 acres of wetlands upgraded and maintained, which is also great. It's a perfect combination of the environmental aspects and the economic aspects working together. Some people in the environmental field would love to see 160 acres of wetlands. Some people in the economic area would like to see 160 acres of warehouses. This is a compromise. This is a great way to put the land back into development while maintaining the environmental aspects of it. You're going to hear from Jeff on Amazon.com, but the former C&S warehouse, which closed a couple of years ago and had almost 900 employees, has now been turned into the Amazon.com warehouse. There'll be 500 or more employees by the time it's developed. And if you need to know the economic impact of something like a warehouse, just ask Paul LaGruda at Mulberry Street, who was on the video before. He owns the Italian restaurant on Rahway Avenue, Mulberry Street. When C&S closed, he lost $40,000 worth of catering. Literally lost $40,000 of his business because he provided the catering to that building, among others probably. And now Amazon's back, he's thrilled. So you see the impact when you talk to a guy like Paul, and he says, that's a lot of money to a small little restaurant, family owned, and he lost it when they closed. Hopefully he gets it back when they open up again. Arizona Iced Tea is also on the panel, Tom. It's going to be an 800,000 square foot warehouse right next to Albert's Palace. That's the view from the Palace parking lot to the right. It's downhill. It's the last building in Woodbridge before you get into Edison. They have a warehouse just the other side of the border that will be connected, and they'll be manufacturing here glass bottles, cans, cardboard, and brewing the tea, and putting it all together and filling it and shipping it out. And I can't remember the last time a manufacturing facility opened up in the States, certainly not Woodbridge, but probably in the state of New Jersey. Prologis in Port Reading, we all know the Bed Bath & Beyond came in with 500,000 square feet. They added another 250,000 square feet. You see the map on the top left. There's a total of 7 buildings already approved. They're building 2 more of them now. They have shells up, and that's also going to be part of a pilot deal that we negotiated with them way back. So it's going to be a lot more money to come in, and hopefully we'll share some of that with the schools too going forward. FedEx is the biggest building in town. It's over 1 million square feet. They've had 4 different expansions. They just concluded their last one. It was the very first pilot we did back in 1999 when I was the town CFO. Very sensible. As a result of that deal way back then, there's been 3 expansions. Now it's the biggest facility east of the Mississippi River for FedEx. The old Haagen-Dazs building to the top right, which later became Teixeira's Bakery, is going to be a Tommy. At least it's not signed yet. He told me yesterday it's probably only 2 weeks away from being signed, the lease. But it's going to be a Tommy Maloney's, which imports 80% of the Irish beef in America comes through Tommy Maloney's. I remember when he came in, he didn't have an appointment, a guy named Bill Colbert, and I was in the office, my secretary said, there's somebody here to see you, and I was busy in a meeting, and I said, I don't have time now, take his number. But she says, no, but this is his card, and his card had a shamrock on it. So I canceled my meeting, and I said, bring him in my office right away. So we're going to get Tommy Maloney's to Woodbridge, and it's going to employ 40 people the first year, up to 200 after 2 years. The former AMP site and the new owners are here. That's going to be turned into a Crunch gym, and the rest of it is still not rented, but they're making big progress, and they have a lot of irons in the fire to get other tenants. But we're very, very happy with this company who's coming in to own property in Woodbridge. McDonald's will be built on the pad, not in the building you see, the AMP building, but it'll be built on the pad. So either you're going to grab your Big Mac and go work it off, or you're going to work out and say, now I can have a Big Mac. Boscov's, you'll hear Amy talking about Boscov's, but that's huge for Woodbridge Center. A huge development. The store was vacant for 5 years. They have 6 anchors, so it's okay if a store is vacant for a little bit, but I got to admit, I was worried for the last couple of years if someone else goes out. Now it's 4 to 6. Now you start wondering about the long-term future. They got Boscov's in. They're a great tenant, great opening, and thanks to Amy for her leadership of Woodbridge Center. The Burlington Coat Factory, we knew when that was open that would anchor that strip mall. That was dead. There was 2 or 3 stores left. The 3 biggest stores were empty. Linens and Things was out, Circuit City was out, and Great Indoors was out. So we knew once Burlington came in last year, that would lead to more. And a couple of weeks ago, we welcomed Big Lots there, and there's a lot more being planned for that strip mall. Wawa on Route 9 South opened last year, and they're working on Route 1 North. That used to be the Gem Motel. Nothing to be proud of. Mom's Diner, nothing to be proud of. And a little gas station that was closed for 50 years, nothing to be proud of. The very first WETCO seminar back in 2007, we talked about that. This is an opportunity for somebody to come in. Wawa came in, knocked all those buildings down. They're having their grand opening on November 15th, and we're confident that that's going to lead to more. There's a couple more motels we're not that happy with. There's a couple other sites on there that are not all that attractive, but we think Wawa is going to be the impetus to get that done on Route 1 North and South in the Avenel section of town. Replay was up at the Hampton Inn site next to Longhorn for only a few years before they were bought out to make room for Miller's Ale House. It's 2 out of 3. They got a leprechaun on a fish. The only thing better would be if he was wearing a Yankee hat. But Carol and I were going to an event in South Jersey. We came off the turnpike and there was a Miller's Ale House. We stopped on the way back. It was a Wednesday night in October, nothing going on, no sports events, and it was packed. 2 bars, the size of this section of the room here, and probably 400 seats, and we were on a waiting list at a Miller's New Jersey Ale House. So you see why they went and they bought out that lease of Replay, which still had another 10 or more years to go, and they're coming to town, and it's going to be fantastic based on our experience there. You see all those ribbon cuttings that happened in the past year. This is a list of all of them. That's Bertucci's, which didn't have a reopening. We just had a whole big renovation. Ace in Avenel off of Omar, and all these other places on this page. And the next page, small retails, nothing big. We talked about Amazon, CPV. Every section of town, that's true. Every single section of town has had retail or small business openings on its main streets and side streets. Now we'll talk about what's available. Going forward, skip up to Main Street. The Main Street area, we're working with New Jersey Transit. We want to make that a transit village, and they have a lot of interest in doing it. We haven't got it to the drawing board yet, but we are trying to work on the whole area near Town Hall. If you go from Town Hall up Main Street, all the housings to the left behind Nev's Jewelers, not a lot of, I got to be careful, my lawyer's here. We'd love to see it redeveloped, let's put it that way. And to the right, there's a lot of the Lucas development. Lucas owns Riffy's. They're planning 150 residential units right on the train. That's going to be perfect. People won't have to worry about even having cars because they're right in downtown Woodbridge. They'll go to New York. They'll go to Newark. It's a great development. I think they've reached an agreement with an actual developer. But we want to work on downtown Woodbridge, and there's a lot of opportunities down there. You can pick up houses and put in condos. We're willing to go more density. We just are very excited about that. Sterling Heights, up to the top left, right across from Town Hall, is done. There's 24 condos down there. It looks terrific. That's a picture on the bottom of the Learning Experience Child Care Facility, which is a lot further along than that now. And it's got some apartments upstairs. We're willing to, I didn't become mayor looking to put more apartments in town, but we recognize in many cases that you have to allow for some apartments on top of retail because it provides income, it pays the bills while the retail gets rented. So that's a great facility for downtown, and it brings people with incomes to Woodbridge to shop and to dine. That's just pictures of the Main Street Business District. That is the old Club Sleep. It's going to be redeveloped into a kidney dialysis center. I think I said that last year and maybe even the year before that, but it looks like they're finally going to get it. Upper Main Street, we are so happy with what's happened on Upper Main Street. That was very, very decrepit and ugly. The top left is Northfield Bank and Lighthouse Learning Center. If you remember, it was the old High Hill Garage. It was pathetic looking. And it was finally knocked down, and those two beautiful new buildings are up. The Investors Bank used to be a Quickie Mart, real terrible looking building, knocked down, replaced by a gorgeous bank, Investors Bank, and then in front of you on the bottom is the old Bally's that was vacant probably for 20 years or more. And it was nothing to look at, and now it's the old, now it's what's the name of the company? Say it? DaVita, right, thanks, Nance. DaVita Kidney Dialysis Center. There must be such a need for kidney dialysis that literally two will open up almost right next to each other in downtown Woodbridge, but if there is, there is. We're happy to have them. Metro Park is, we have a vision there for the corner lot that used to be parking when they were building more of the deck. We're looking at probably a 10-story building there. We're working very closely with New Jersey Transit. Carol and Marta meet with them frequently. They've got to issue an RFP. They are the property owner. They're already eligible for pilot treatment. We've always had the thought of a community. We think based on our central location that all the colleges in the state would but open up some kind of facility in Woodbridge. We could have a floor or two, share all the overhead, and have classes for college students, for grad students, for people with licenses that need continuing education. We've always thought that would work great right off the Parkway, 2 minutes from the Turnpike, train station right there. People from Georgian Court and Kane and Bloomfield College have all talked to us and have a lot of interest in putting a little satellite operation there because it'll be cheaper than anywhere else on their own and centrally located. Keasbey has been significantly redeveloped. We talked about FedEx, 4 expansions, Wakefern, 2 expansions, Graydell, Tilcon asphalt plant. Everything in Keasbey goes around Bayshore Recycling. They've been named the redeveloper for all of their land. They have a lot of prospects, a lot of deals near being done. We're very, very, very proud of our relationship with that company, and we're looking forward to them bringing more environmental, ecological type businesses to the Woodbridge area. Everything they do has got some kind of environmental twist, and they've got a lot of plans, and maybe next year the focus will be on that as the major announcement of 2014. Route 1 we've divided into 12 separate areas for redevelopment. I think now the second section to the right is where the Wawa is. We are very anxious for more to be done, and again, like I said, I think the Wawa will be an impetus for a lot more happening along Route 1. We're looking for retail. Anything that is good for the town, we are steering people toward Route 1. The biggest area is what we call Area 14. We were recently in litigation with that challenged our designation of that as a redevelopment zone. We won the litigation. It's now a redevelopment zone. It's for lease. It's for discussions. Anybody that's interested in retail. It's a great corner, Route 1, Route 35, 2 major state highways, great access, great visibility. I just see Marta, Carol, and myself. We'll set you up with the owners and try to get something going there. The 6th Avenue Electronics Building is going to be the Compassionate Care Center, which is the medical marijuana facility. Regardless of whether you like the issue or not, or think it should be done or not, it's legal. So we'll take the jobs. We'll take that ugly building getting renovated. They're actually interviewing people now. So they're thinking of opening in December. It'll be the 3rd one in the state and probably the largest one in the state when it opens. They're actually growing now inside, so they'll be ready to open in December or January. Guys are very, what? No marijuana jokes. I have never touched the stuff and I never will. And I hope I don't need it medically. Route 9 corridor, the same owners of the A&P site have just picked up the big Route 9 building. We're going to work with them and try to highlight that building and see what we can do to help them get rented. The Hess, go back a minute, the Hess situation, so far we don't think is going to be too bad for us. The building is still there. The company that survives all the machinations of the Hess dissolution will still be there. Might be some empty space, but we'll deal with that. The gas stations are going to be sold, so they'll still be there. They'll still be on the tax rolls. The tank farm is going nowhere. The refinery ultimately will be dismantled, but it'll be turned into more tanks in all likelihood. Buckeye Pipeline just announced the purchase of 19 different sites in the U.S. and St. Lucia, I think it was. They've already been talking to us. They're doing a project in town now to replace some pipelines, so we know them. They're a great company, and we're looking forward to working with them on the development of the refinery site. And you see the tank farms. That whole area below the tank farms is the refinery. It's a lot of area for a lot more tanks, and that's what is needed right now in the Northeast is tank capacity. Route 9 there used to be, that's where the, what do you call it, the car repair, the Midas, is it Midas Muffler? No, it's not Midas Muffler, Jiffy Lube. Where Jiffy Lube is, that has now become the Wawa and Aldi's. Next slide there, Tim. Wawa had their grand opening. It was the biggest, most elaborate grand opening ever in the history of Woodbridge, just for a simple Wawa store. The trick there for me is to avoid Wally the Wawa Goose, who chased me down all over for an hour looking to get a picture with me, and being in a tank ruined Michael Dukakis' career, and being with the Wawa Goose is not going to ruin my career. Colonia, there's still a lot of opportunities, but it's doing fairly well. There have been a lot of openings of stores up and down Inman Avenue. Keep going, Tim. There's 2 maps of the area, which everybody knows. The old school 2 and 16 site outside Merrill Park is going to be redeveloped into a senior living facility. We're very, very happy with this. We actually asked several people to come in and look at the site. Ingerman Group was successful. They built the Maple Tree Manor in town, which I think is the best senior building in town. The whole atmosphere there is tremendous. They're going to bring the same kind of thing to just outside Merrill Park. The top left is School 2. The bottom right, you see School 2 is being maintained. And they're going to take down some structures and keep some other ones, and ultimately have 62 senior units just outside Merrill Park. We're very, very happy about that. There's some other pictures of Inman Avenue and what's happened there recently. The whole Walgreens has been completely redeveloped, and it's beautiful compared to what was there before, and there's still some opportunities there. Route 27, like Route 1, has been divided up into a couple of different areas. Not a lot has happened there yet, but we're anxious, and we're talking to some people. There's been 2 new developments there, but probably another half dozen opportunities. The old ice cream site is available. There's a couple other spots that are actually for sale. The old Jelly Bean Junction. There's an old office building. There's a couple of homes. There's some significant opportunities on Route 27 in Island. Avenel, it all comes down to the General Dynamics site. There's a couple of people here that are involved in those discussions on the buyer side and the seller side. They just literally met Friday and exchanged offers. They're very, very close. I've been saying this for 2 years. They're very, very close, and it's going to happen soon. But this time, from what we're hearing, they're very, very close, and it's going to happen soon. It's going to be up to 500 apartments. It's the best option there. It's right on a residence, right up against residence. It's next to the train station. It could be a warehouse, it could be an office building, it could be a retail store, a big box. We don't think any of that makes sense. Again, I didn't run for mayor to put, hundreds of apartments in town, but in this case, we think it makes a lot of sense. It's going to have an arch theme. The new owners, in fact, we can see who the new owners are. The redevelopers, the Halperns, who own this building. They're working very hard to try to secure this site. We've already named them the redeveloper. We're very, very happy with what they do in town. They're great partners for us. When the Avenel fire hit a year and a half ago, they were phenomenal to all their residents. They just cared about their people like you wouldn't believe, and we're very, very happy with them building more in town. If you go back, Tim. What's going to happen, and where there's one more. When that gets built, up and down Avenel Street and up and down Rahway Avenue are going to present tremendous tremendous opportunities, and that's where I think people should really look. Frank Zappi has already got the corner tied up across from Dunkin' Donuts, going to put some retail with residential on top. There's opportunities, we think, up and down, as I said, Rahway Avenue and Avenel Street, because once that's built in General Dynamics and there's 500 families there on the train with an arts theme, people will be coming to that site for performances and for concerts and for plays, and I truly believe there's a lot of opportunities just outside that site in Avenel for development. In Avenel, you'll see some things that have already happened. Egerton Boulevard, down by the Knights of Columbus toward Maple Tree. Those are beautiful apartments that have been built, condos or apartments, I'm not quite sure. There used to be a Monroe muffler shop on Route 35. That's been demolished, and you'll see up on top right what's going to be put there. Again, when you build these kind of places, the people that are renting them are probably going to have some incomes. And they're the type of people we want downtown. They're the type of people we want coming and spending their money in Woodbridge. A lot has happened in Ford's, particularly, that's just a map of the area, New Brunswick Avenue into Hope Lawn. The Halperns, again, built Autumn Hills, 112 units just outside Ports Park. Beautiful units that are almost all rented now. You'll see in the bottom left, Ford's Corner. Wick Companies came in, put a 7-Eleven in. Apartments in the building to the right upstairs, all rented. And downstairs, there's a bunch of stores, restaurants, all rented. Right on the corner of Ford Avenue, King George Post Road, and New Brunswick Avenue. A significant investment in Ford's, and the people down the street from that on New Brunswick Avenue have already been telling us what a great thing that happened there. A couple old buildings were knocked down and this built, and it's been great for downtown Ford's. And the same thing will happen. That development will work its way down New Brunswick Avenue. Port Reading, if you go back to the map of Prologis and you see that 3 million square feet is going to be developed in Prologis, you've got to look at Port Reading Avenue and have a vision to see what it can be. With that many people coming to work every day, the whole strip of Port Reading Avenue across the street is ripe for development. We don't necessarily want housing there, although housing on top of retail is okay, but that, like Avenel Street, like Rahway Avenue, we think presents tremendous opportunities for somebody that wants to invest now and be ready when all those warehouses open up and all those employees start coming to town every day. Island's one area of town that really doesn't need a lot of help. I'm sure they have a couple vacancies here and there, but just 2 weeks ago, Councilman Major and I, in the top left, opened Patel's Cash and Carry, an absolutely gorgeous store right smack in the middle of Upper Oak Tree Road toward Edison, and you can see the kind of places throughout that district. You go into some of these shops and you think you're in New York City. It's just unbelievable how gorgeous they are, how well run they are, and we're very, very happy with what's happened to the Oak Tree Road and Green Street Business District as a result of the investment made by primarily Asian Indians in our town. Carol mentioned in the video Sustainable Jersey. We don't quite know for sure, but we think we are the 5th time in a row we're the most sustainable champion. This year I'm going to go down to Atlantic City to accept the award and make the announcement that we're quitting. We have to give other people a chance. It's a lot of work. It's really a lot of work. Carol spends a lot of time, and a guy that did most of the work, Larry, left the town to go to work for an arts company in Rahway, so Carl was left doing some of it, and we've about had it with all the work it takes to become the most sustainable, and we really have to give somebody else a chance to win it. So we'll take our title 5 years in a row and retire on top. Greener by Design, this is a project that I think is going to be huge for people in this room. It's business energy aggregation. Many of you probably heard from them. Many of you have already signed up with them. but we're not allowed to do as a town, we're not allowed to make money off aggregation, so Wetco is actually doing the project, and they hired business Greener by Design, and they are aggregating all of our corporations and all of our businesses in town into a pool, and they're going to bid it and get better prices for energy. I think we're one of the only towns doing it, but we're very, very happy with that, and if you haven't heard from them, you probably will. We think it's great for the town, it's great for Wetco, it's great for our businesses. In fact, I think Arizona Iced Tea, when they found that out, was probably one of the decisions or factors that made their decision easier to come to Woodbridge. You heard Carol talk about direct install, where there's funding available and grants and loans for energy efficient equipment. Next up is our Woodbridge Community Center. Our agreement with the YMCA was terminated September 1st for the pool and the schools, daycare, pre-K, before and after care, holiday care, and our agreement is terminated in 2 days for the membership. So far, we've got more kids in the schools than they ever had, and we've got more kids in swimming than they ever had. We've right now got 63% of the members signed up with us. The trick there is we're not allowed to just get credit card information from the Y. If that was the case, we just take it, start charging in November, be done with it. They won't give it to us. We have to have people proactively sign a piece of paper saying it's okay to get my credit card information from the Y to the town, so in November you can start billing me instead of billing through the Y. We're, again, 63% done. If anybody here is a member, has not transferred over yet, please do so. But what's important is there's corporate memberships available there, and it's a fantastic opportunity. It's nearby all Woodbridge businesses. It's got a pool, it's got a track, it's got exercise, cardio room, it's got a weight room, it's got all kinds of programs, all kinds of things available. We have other amenities like ice, the roller rink, the golf course, we're getting batting cages, we're getting trampolines. Members have access to those things with a discount. We're ultimately going to be taking over the Highland Grove swim area outside. There'll be a discount to the outside pool. There'll be a spray park there, hopefully sponsored by Arizona Iced Tea. No pressure to them if they're with Tom if he's here. But it's a great opportunity. It's very, very inexpensive. You're not going to get a gym anywhere. Oh, there's a sign up in the back. I'm sorry. Kelly is in the back, and Elizabeth's in the back. If anybody wants to talk to them about the details and potentially sign up now. But I think when you look around, you'll see that it's a very good opportunity for companies that are in Woodbridge to have your members join. And in fact, if you get a certain level of members, you get a discount. So please talk to us. We spend a lot of money in town on the parks. Again, it's about not only the kids, but it's also about property values. The reality is that somebody who's going to buy a house in Woodbridge either has kids in school, they have preschoolers, or they have kids that are not quite in school yet, or they're going to have kids that are going to go to our schools. We need strong schools. We need strong amenities. We need people to look at a school and say, that's the school I want to send my kid to. Now I'll go talk to the principal and see if I like the education. I see a track, I see a basketball court, I see a playground, I see a nice looking building. It passes the curb appeal test. That's why we're working so hard, because everybody talks about property taxes, but you should talk just as much, if not more, about property values. Because a few bucks a year on your property tax bill is nothing compared to the thousands of dollars of value in your house because of what we're doing with the schools. There's clearly a direct impact and a direct benefit of a strong school system on property values. And last is just a listing of all the things we're doing to try to attract people to Woodbridge, the New Jersey Senior Olympics. And as I'm hearing Wayne talk, I'm looking at Pat thinking maybe we should talk to Wayne about getting the National Senior Olympics to New Jersey, working with him. Maybe in a couple of years we'll let him get the Super Bowl done and get his wrestling done and get his Formula One done. Farmers markets every week, brings a lot of people downtown. The biggest event of the year is the fireworks, probably 12 or more thousand more people come in. The plays, the concerts, all free. Some on Wednesdays are charged for the bigger acts, but every Wednesday in the summer at Parker Press, a free concert. Every Monday in the summer at Woodbridge High School, a free concert. So we're doing everything we possibly can to make your business successful. When you come to Woodbridge, you know you have a group up here, you have a council, you have a bunch of people working in the administration, inspectors. Everybody is working hard to get you here, and once you're here, everybody's working hard to make it successful. Finally, thank you to our sponsors again. Never had this many. We're very, very proud of your investment today and also in Woodbridge Township as a whole. Thank you very much. That concludes our presentation. Quickly introduce our panel. Jeff Ziegler, Vice President for Development of KTR Capital Partners. Jeff is responsible for the management, coordination, and execution of the due diligence, entitlement, and pre-development phases of KTR's development projects across the country. Prior to his current role, Mr. Ziegler covered the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic markets for 4 years as a member of KTR's acquisition team. Before joining KTR in October 2007, Jeff was an analyst at Citi covering the financial institution sector. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Finance and Logistics, Transportation and Supply Chain Management from the University of Maryland. KTR Capital Partners is in the process of redeveloping the former C&S Grocers warehouse located in Avenel into 2 modern Class A distribution centers. The renovation of the first building was completed in August 2013 and is fully leased to Amazon.com. The redevelopment of the second building is in process, and when completed in the spring of 2014, will include approximately 279,000 square feet of dry distribution space and 112,000 square feet of cooler distribution space. One at a time, okay, one at a time. Let's bring up Jeff Ziegler from KTR Capital Partners.
Thank you, Mayor McCormick. I was asked today to speak about our project in Avenel. Going back in 2008, we put the property under contract. At the time, though, the market went into a financial downturn. During diligence, we found some significant issues with the project, or with one of the buildings as it was built in the 1960s. Just building that was 45, 50 years old. The roof wasn't doing well. The walls were not providing the right insulation. And the floor wasn't good. So you're pretty much talking about having some good steel. The other project was 301 Blair Road, which back in February of this year, we have a relationship with Amazon.com. We were doing a couple of their build-to-suits around the country. They wanted to come and have a project in northern New Jersey. We approached C&S. We were already under contract to acquire the properties, but they needed to get out sooner than they expected. And we met with the mayor, met with Marta, met with Carol, and we told them we have a tenant. Didn't tell them who it was, but we needed to meet the following guidelines. They need to be operational by August. For those of you who had toured the building or been in the building or driven by it, it was, I don't think any work was done to the exterior or the interior since they vacated about 3 years ago. Met with the mayor. It was funny. Typically, when you go into a municipality, you want to talk about doing some form of renovation or development. They want a little more information. Well, before we even said what we wanted to do, the mayor got everyone in the room. I remember one person was out on I think at vacation day. The mayor said, get her on her cell phone. And with that kind of commitment, we knew that we could then take it back to Amazon.com and say, we'll get you in the building by August 15th to be operational. So that's 301 Blair Road. 275 Omar was the building that had significant issues as far as the walls, the roof, and the floor. About 2/3 was built in the 1960s, then they added on another 112,000 square feet of cooler space in early 2000. The 2000 part was in pretty good shape, but the other side needed to be demolished. Going through the entitlement process and getting all the approvals from whether it's going to town council or the redevelopment authority was a pretty seamless experience, where as the mayor and other people who have spoken before said, they're pretty hands-on and get involved from the beginning, not just show up and give you your comments at the meeting for you to go back. It's a collaborative approach from the get-go, which allowed us to begin the demolition of that project about 2 months ago with the hopes of delivering a fully redeveloped site with the 112,000 square feet of cooler space and 280,000 square feet of dry space come spring of 2014. With me is Al Core, who's our asset manager for the Northeast. I think we have some of the brochures in the back that have some more information about that project. But looking forward to our first project in the Woodbridge area, and then looking forward to doing further ones.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Amy Belisano is a senior general manager at Woodbridge Center, where she has worked for the past 20 years. Woodbridge Center is owned and operated by the Chicago-based General Growth Properties, the second largest real estate investment trust in the United States. Amy began her business career in real estate as a marketing manager with a small center in Ithaca, New York, and then transitioned into property management at the Poughkeepsie Galleria, and then in 1993, thankfully, to Woodbridge Center. She has served in leadership roles for several new mall developments and redevelopments, and has mostly recently participated in the Boscov's development project at Woodbridge Center. Amy serves on the board of directors of the Woodbridge Metro Chamber of Commerce, the Middlesex County Workforce Investment Board, the New York, New Jersey Council of Shopping Centers, and the Woodbridge Metro Chamber of Commerce. She's also active in the First Presbyterian Church of Metuchen, where she sings with the senior choir and volunteers for leadership roles in church programs. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Amy Bellisano.
No, I'm not going to sing right now, so don't worry. Woodbridge Center has the dubious honor of being the second largest taxpayer in the township, and I guess with the breakup of Hess, we're going to be number one. So someone has to step up and be the number one, so please. Woodbridge Center has been in existence since 1971, and sometimes renovating and growing an existing business and renovating within an existing shell of a business while you're open can be more complex than actually building from the ground up. Certainly, it took us a long time to do the Olive Garden and Bahama Breeze, which the mayor reminded me every time we all got together. That lease was actually signed in 2005, and then through various issues, inclusive of GGP's bankruptcy, there were so many delays. It finally opened in 2011. And I really think it was the mayor's demanding that it continue to be on top of our list was why we kept at it, and it took a lot of hard work. With Boscov's, when Fortunoff closed in 2009, you know, there was a lot of interest in that building, but we knew the value of Fortunoff was that it wasn't every 10 feet in New Jersey. So we really held out to find that unique retailer that fit our market perfectly. So the time delay that other people and the rumors that we were going out of business and the rumors that it was going to be senior housing all did not come to fruition. Woodbridge Center is viable and doing well. So we waited, and we actually were ecstatic about the partnership opportunity with Boscov's. We actually had to buy that lease back from Fortunoff, so it was a very complicated and expensive venture, and I can say that Boscov's biggest problem right now is lack of space, because they're doing so much business that I've had to actually find a storage area for them within the property, and they're just doing fantastic. Now we're on to leveling Center Court, and that's $1.4 million project. I know it's surprising. We're adding 4 food snack kiosks in Center Court, and I have to say that if Woodbridge Township was not the partner that they are, we would not be able to get this done in record time. This was an idea that we had this year, and before we even hired the architect, we went to the health inspector, we went to the building department, we went to the fire inspector, and we said, what are some of the issues that we're going to come against with this project? Because it's very, very complicated. We have to put, Jim, is it 100-gallon, 100-pound grease interceptors in the ground there for each kiosk. And so we knew what we were getting into up front. And while there were some surprises up front, it's a lot easier to take care of them up front. So being able to pick up the phone, have the building inspector, have the health inspector understand your scope of work, what you're trying to do. They're actually working directly with the tenants to try to make that project move along faster. We would not be able to get this done, I'm telling you right now, if Woodbridge Township was not the partner that they are. Boscov's, a lot of things that we did not anticipate really could have been gotcha things from the fire inspector, gotcha things from the building inspector, gotcha things from the plumbing inspector. Instead it was, gee, I see this is a problem, how are we going to get it done? How are we going to, what's the plan to make this happen? We would not have gotten any of those projects done without the partnership. So we appreciate it, and we look forward. When we brainstorm ideas for Woodbridge Center, I know that Woodbridge Township will be an advocate, and we will get professional guidance all along the way. So we thank you.
Our next and last speaker is from Ryan LLC, which is a business incentive company. doesn't work directly for Arizona Iced Tea, but he helped, or he got the deal done with the town. He was our direct contact through which we worked to get Arizona to come to Woodbridge. Tom Stringer has more than 11 years of experience negotiating and securing federal, state, and local incentives worth more than $1.5 billion for middle market and Fortune 1000 companies. Representing clients in some of the largest transactions on the East Coast, Mr. Stringer has helped several multi-billion-dollar corporations, such as a leading global security company, a global water engineering and manufacturing company, a leading consumer products corporation, which I'm guessing is Arizona, a major brewing company, that could be Arizona, and a leading clothing manufacturer, helping them successfully relocate their headquarters and realize tremendous returns on their investments. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Stringer.
Well, thank you everybody for having me here today. On behalf of Don Voltaggio, who's the chairman and the founder of Arizona Iced Tea, this is kind of the start of the end for us and a new beginning. This was a 10-year search, and I stress 10 years, looking for a new property. We've been in and out of the state of New Jersey, state of New York, Connecticut. Can't tell you how many different places, but when we met Mayor Mack and Carol and Marta, we knew where we wanted to be. We just didn't have the property. We had a distribution center in Edison, and there was some pretty much fallow, unused property with a significant amount of ammunition in the ground for Raritan Center, which we knew would be a problem. It took us about 2 years to complete the due diligence, but I will tell you, with the mayor's help, which is exceptional, we were able to make our decision about 3 or 4 weeks ago to bring an 800,000 square foot manufacturing facility here to Woodbridge. It'll be connected to our 400,000 square foot distribution center, which is across the way in Edison. We're going to bring, I think, 315 new jobs. Average salary is about $47,000. It'll be about $142 million in capital expenditure. I do a lot of projects around the country. Represent Northrop Grumman, Church and Dwight have moved a lot of their facilities, a lot of their manufacturing facilities from the Northeast or old line states to the new economy states of the Southeast, Southwest. I will tell you, between the governor and the mayor here, there is definitely something going on in New Jersey. Just look at the industrial office market, the industrial market in general, in terms of how the rates have gone up. There's something that's definitely happening here. I mean, we got a pilot. I've never got a pilot in the state of New Jersey, and we've done tremendous projects in the past. Our first meeting with Mayor Mack was, as we were going through our project outlines, he grabbed a napkin and said, "Here's your permit. Just tell us what you want to do." So we said, all right, we can do business with this guy. This is going to be pretty simple. And then the expertise we got from Marta and her team in terms of meeting our site plan development needs, which we're still finalizing, was pretty exceptional. But my second Mayor Mack story, which was tremendous, took place about 3 weeks ago. Now, if you've ever seen The Godfather Part 2, we were down at the EDA, and we were having some issues timing-wise to get our incentives package through with the passage of the new grow legislation. And there was some back and forth, and I was actually very nervous that this was not going to happen, even considering the weight of the investment. And Mayor said, listen, we're going to take care of this. We're going to talk to some people and make sure that they understand the economic impact of the project and the importance to Woodbridge. I'm going to come down to the meeting. Which, hey, that's great. In Jersey, you never get local participation on state projects. Locals are never involved, really, quite frankly, from a financial perspective, or more importantly, from a political perspective. Historically, big problem in Jersey. So we're down at 36 State Street in Trenton. We're at the EDA board meeting. They call a meeting to order. Mayor walks in. It was like when that guy's brother from Sicily walked into the meeting, and all of a sudden, everybody's attitude changed. Approved. You guys can leave. It was great. So he gets embarrassed by stuff like that. He said, don't come up and say, that we helped you out, or don't put me on the spot. But really, you have a terrific public servant, somebody who we as a company, and I've represented Arizona for, I guess, going on 12 years now. Very private company, very personal company. They do business with people they like, they trust, and they respect, and that's it. We found it in the mayor. You guys are very lucky to have someone like that. I say that objectively because I deal with elected officials around the country all the time. I think I told Carol the other day, oh my God, I can't wait to move to Woodbridge. But I'm from Long Island. I'd move anywhere to get off that So, but thank you guys very much. We're looking forward to breaking ground in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a tremendous investment. I think something you guys will all be very proud of.
Any questions? Seriously, does anybody have any questions for any of our panelists, or me or Carol or Marta? We said 11 o'clock we'd be done. There's a few minutes left. We'll be happy to talk about anything you want to talk about. Anne Marie, you're going to be the new Lenny Sandelsky. He's the guy that asks all the questions no matter where we are, what we're doing, chamber meeting, any event. He's in the audience, first guy with his hand up. He's not here today, so thank you for taking over.
I had the opportunity to walk in Westfield last week and also yesterday downtown Woodbridge. And I was I was looking at downtown Woodbridge. I said, you know what, we're almost there. I said, it looks really good. I was playing grandma, I had a baby carriage, I could get in and out, I could maneuver. I said, but the thing that we're missing, the difference between us and Westfield, is those brand name stores. So what I was thinking in my head, is there any way to partner with Woodbridge Center to get a little satellite store onto Main Street, and so to bring a little satellite store, so it's not gonna be a big store, they're not gonna do big shopping there, but they're gonna do little shopping and go to Woodbridge Center. So that's my thought.
It's a good idea. I'll leave it up to Amy. You don't have to answer now, but we'll, as they say, take it under advisement. No, it's not a bad idea. We'll talk about it. Anybody else? Nope. If not, thank you all for coming. Oh, I forgot. Hold on. If you leave your card in the back with Zia Jeffrey, the area general manager for Residence Inn Marriott, she's having a drawing for a free iPad. Yeah. And if you leave your card with Kelly or Elizabeth, we also will award a free trial membership in the community center. So please leave us your business cards on the way out. Thank you all for coming.